Theresa Caputo's new land purchase, mystery and future plans. Long Island medium Theresa Caputo recently purchased a new piece of land, which has her fans intrigued. But what's even more surprising is that she's also in talks with her ex-husband Larry Caputo about the property. This situation has created new concerns for Theresa's family. Many are wondering if they are going to work together again, or if they will take on a business venture with the land. Some sources say Theresa and Larry may be starting a new business through land investments, while others speculate that they may be looking to put their old relationship behind them and work together in a new way. However, Theresa's new venture could bring about major changes in her personal and professional life. It remains to be seen whether she and Larry will continue on their journey together or build their futures separately. Theresa Caputo stood at the edge of her newly purchased land, gazing at the vast open space before her. The salty breeze from the nearby ocean carried a sense of possibility, but also uncertainty. She had envisioned this land as a fresh start, a place where she could create something meaningful, something different from the past she had left behind. Yet, the past had a strange way of creeping back in. A familiar voice broke her train of thought. Still trying to read minds, Theresa? She turned around to see Larry Caputo, her ex-husband, standing there with his hands tucked into his leather jacket. His presence was both expected and unsettling. After all, she had invited him here. "You always were skeptical," she smirked, folding her arms. Larry chuckled. "Not skeptical, just realistic. So what's the plan? Why am I here?" Theresa hesitated for a moment. She had spent years distancing herself from Larry, from the marriage that had once been full of love but had eventually crumbled under the weight of their differences. But now, standing here with him, she realized something. There were things they did well together. "I want to build something new, something that lasts, and I think we could do it together." Larry raised an eyebrow. "You and me, together? Last time we tried that, it didn't end so well." "Not like before," she clarified. "A business, a retreat, maybe, a spiritual wellness center. People need a place to reconnect with themselves, with loved ones, even with those who have passed. And who better to create that than us?" Larry exhaled, looking out over the land. The idea wasn't entirely crazy. In fact, it made sense. Despite their failed marriage, they had always shared a passion for helping people find peace. "You really think we can do this?" he asked. "Only one way to find out," Theresa replied. As the sun began to set, the two stood in silence, both knowing that this land held more than just business potential. It was a chance, perhaps their last, to turn the page and write a new chapter. Whether it would be one of partnership or something more, only time would tell. However, it was a crisp autumn afternoon when Emily Peterson walked into the small community center where Long Island medium Theresa Caputo was holding a group reading. Emily had been hesitant about coming, skeptical even. Her husband, Mark, had passed away unexpectedly a year ago, and though she longed for a sign from him, she wasn't sure if she believed in mediums. Theresa, with her signature blonde hair and sparkling energy, greeted everyone warmly before beginning the session. As she moved through the room, delivering messages from the other side, Emily sat quietly, clutching a photo of Mark inside her purse. Suddenly, Theresa's demeanor shifted. She paused, turned in Emily's direction, and tilted her head. "Honey, I gotta come to you," Theresa said, pointing. "There's a man standing next to you, and he's showing me a tattoo. But it's unique. Not just any tattoo, something personal." Emily's heart pounded. Mark had a tattoo on his left shoulder, but it wasn't anything cliché like a heart or a name. It was a simple sketch of an oak tree, the same tree they had carved their initials into when they first met as teenagers. Theresa closed her eyes, listening. "He's saying, tell her it's the tree, the one that meant everything to us." Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That was his tattoo, an oak tree. It was our special place." Theresa smiled softly. He wants you to know he's still with you. He sees your pain, but he also sees your strength. And he's reminding you, just like that tree, your love is still standing. It didn't end. A shiver ran down Emily's spine, but for the first time in months, she felt warmth in her chest. It was as if Mark had just whispered in her ear. The doubt, the skepticism, it all faded away. At that moment, Emily knew he was still with her, and thanks to Theresa, she had the message she had been longing for. However, Theresa Caputo had always been used to connecting with the other side. Spirit spoke to her daily, guiding her, delivering messages to grieving families. But she never expected to make a new best friend, especially one who wasn't even alive. One afternoon, Theresa was preparing for a private reading at her Long Island home. A woman named Diane had booked the session, hoping to hear from her late mother, Margaret. As soon as Diane walked in, Theresa felt a powerful energy. The room grew cold, and a strong floral scent filled the air. "Oh boy, she's here," Theresa said, adjusting her signature blonde hair. Diane gasped. "My mother always wore rose perfume." Theresa smiled. "Yup, that's her, and let me tell you, she's got a lot to say." The reading went smoothly. Margaret reassured Diane that she was proud of her, reminded her to use less salt in her cooking, and insisted she stop wearing that ugly green sweater. Diane laughed and cried, thanking Theresa for the connection. But after Diane left, something strange happened. This lingered. Theresa shrugged it off. Sometimes spirits stuck around a bit after readings. But the next morning, when Theresa woke up, she smelled roses again. And when she walked into her kitchen, a coffee cup had been moved to the other side of the counter. "All right, who's here?" she asked aloud. A soft whisper brushed against her ear. "Margaret." Theresa froze. "Oh no, 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 this isn't how it works. Readings are done, you move on." But Margaret didn't move on. She started showing up everywhere, adjusting Theresa's pillows, fixing her picture frames, even leaving messages on her fogged-up bathroom mirror. At first, it was creepy. But soon, Theresa realized Margaret wasn't just a lingering spirit. She was keeping her company. They talked every day. Margaret would remind her to call her kids, give her unsolicited fashion advice, and even comment on Theresa's food choices. "You really gonna eat that much pasta? A little salad wouldn't kill ya?" Margaret's voice echoed in her mind. One day, Theresa sat at her dining table with her morning coffee and sighed. "Margaret, I think you're my new best friend." A warmth filled the room, and Theresa swore she heard a chuckle. From that day on, Theresa embraced her unexpected ghostly friendship. Some people had best friends they could text. Theresa had one who could move coffee cups and give her unsolicited opinions from the afterlife. And honestly, she wouldn't have it any other way. However, Theresa Caputo had met countless people grieving their loved ones, but this reading would leave her shaken to the core. It was a bright Sunday afternoon when Theresa arrived at a private reading session in Long Island. A woman named Sarah had booked the session for her 10-year-old son, Jake. As soon as they sat down, Theresa felt an overwhelming energy, a young soul trying to come through. Theresa took a deep breath and looked at Jake. "Sweetheart, I feel a little girl here, someone very young. Does that make sense to you?" Jake's big brown eyes welled up with tears as he nodded. His mother, Sarah, squeezed his hand. "That's his sister, Lily," she whispered. Theresa felt her heart clench. "Lily wants you to know she's okay, Jake. She keeps showing me a carousel. Did something happen at a fair?" Sarah let out a soft sob. "Last summer, we went to the county fair. Lily was so excited to ride the Ferris wheel. But she slipped while getting off and her voice broke." Jake wiped his tears and whispered, "She fell. I couldn't save her." Theresa reached across and held his little hands. "Jake, she says it's not your fault. She wants you to stop blaming yourself. She's showing me a teddy bear, a blue one." "Does that mean something?" Jake gasped. That was her favorite toy. She never slept without it. Theresa smiled through her own tears. She still has it with her in spirit, and she wants you to know she's always around you. She says you still talk to her at night. Jake's lips trembled. I tell her good night every day. Theresa nodded. And she hears you. She wants you to smile again, Jake. She's happy, and she wants you to be happy too. Sarah hugged her son tightly as he broke into sobs. Theresa wiped her own tears and took a deep breath. Some readings were heavier than others, but if she could bring even a little comfort to a grieving heart, it was worth every tear. However, it was a bright morning in Long Island when Theresa Caputo, the world-renowned Long Island medium, received an unexpected call. Her assistant, Donna, sounded both excited and nervous. Theresa, you won't believe this. Hollywood actress Annie Potts wants a reading. Theresa raised an eyebrow. The Annie Potts? From Ghostbusters and Designing Women? Yes, she's a big fan of yours and wants to connect with a loved one. Excited, Theresa agreed. A few days later, Annie arrived at Theresa's cozy Long Island home. She looked stunning, with her signature short hair and a warm smile. Theresa, I have to admit, I'm a skeptic, but I've seen your show and I'm open-minded. Theresa laughed. Listen, Annie, I don't convince people. Spirit speaks and I just deliver the messages. As they sat down, Theresa closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Suddenly, she gasped. Whoa, okay, hold on, someone is here, a strong personality. A man, very witty, sharp-tongued but loving. Does this make sense? Annie's eyes widened. That sounds like my father. He's showing me an old typewriter. Did he write a lot? Tears welled up in Annie's eyes. Yes, he was a writer. He loved his typewriter. Theresa smiled. He says he's proud of you. He always knew you'd be a star, but more than that, he admired your kindness. Annie let out a small laugh. That sounds exactly like him. Theresa paused, her expression changing. Annie, I have to tell you this. He keeps showing me a small white dog. Did you recently lose a pet? Annie gasped. Oh my God, yes, my dog Daisy passed away last year. Daisy is with him. He's holding her and says she's still watching over you. At that moment, Annie broke down, overwhelmed with emotion. She reached out and held Theresa's hands. Thank you, Theresa. I didn't know I needed this today. Theresa smiled warmly. Spirit always knows what we need, even when we don't. As Annie left, she turned back and said, You just made a skeptic believe. Theresa chuckled. It's not me, honey, it's Spirit. And with that, another soul found peace, thanks to the Long Island medium. However, Theresa Caputo had just come out of surgery. The bright hospital lights blurred her vision as she blinked awake, still groggy from the anesthesia. Nurses moved around her, checking her vitals, but Theresa felt something else, an energy shift. A soft whisper echoed in her ears. Tell her I'm okay. Theresa's heart raced. Even in this state, Spirit turned her head slightly and saw a young nurse, Jessica, adjusting her IV. There was sadness in her eyes, a weight she carried. Taking a deep breath, Theresa reached for Jessica's hand. Sweetheart, I know this might sound crazy, but your brother, he's here. Jessica froze. Her eyes widened. Do what? Theresa smiled weakly. He says he's okay. He wants you to stop feeling guilty. You weren't supposed to be there that night. It wasn't your fault. Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes. Oh my God, I've been blaming myself ever since the accident. I should have driven him home that night. Theresa squeezed her hand. He doesn't want you to carry this pain. He's at peace and he loves you. Jessica broke down, covering her mouth to stifle a sob. The other nurses watched in awe. Even fresh out of surgery, Theresa was still doing what she did best, connecting the living with the beyond. Thank you, Jessica whispered, wiping her tears. Theresa, still half-dazed, smiled. Spirit doesn't wait for anyone, not even anesthesia. The room filled with a warm presence, as if for a moment, the veil between life and death had lifted. just enough for love to pass through. Hello lovely viewers, welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.